another day, not just another day, another opportunity to do 55 minutes of current and relevant business talks here on Business Morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the program. I'm Ini John Mekwa. As usual, we start from the global space this morning and see what's happening with oil prices. We see it's in the red this morning, and of course we know reactions to the tariff that's still on, as well as the geopolitical happenings. The sanction on Russian oil is still very much on the list, as well as the decision by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and other allies, OPEC Plus, their agreement to raise production by 547,000. All that also feeding into the numbers that we see here, and we see a drop from $69 that we saw about this time yesterday, and then a 0.19% drop to $68.63 a barrel. WTI is also down 0.23% to $66.14 a barrel, and so we see that's in line with market expectations anyway, after, of course, OPEC Plus decision feeding largely into that. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs is sticking to its forecasts that Brent crude will average $64 a barrel in the fourth quarter, despite some of the gains. I guess we see oil dropping. Maybe this is the way to $64, which Goldman Sachs is forecasting. The bank says pressure on Russian and Iranian supply could lift prices, but weak global demand may cap the rise. Trump has threatened 100% tariffs on Russian oil, but China and India still plan to buy more of Russian oil. Goldman Sachs says that U.S. tariffs could cut demand by 800,000 barrels a day. OPEC Plus, as we said, have raised output again for next month, but is expected to hold steady after September as stockpiles grow and seasonal demand fades. Still in the oil space, the federal government has gazetted 21 new regulations for Nigeria's oil and gas upstream sector in a sweeping move to unlock investment, streamline operations, and align industry practices with both national and global priorities. The Commission Chief Executive of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Mr. Gbenga Komolafe, who made this known while delivering a goodwill message at the 48th edition of the Society of Petroleum Engineers Nigeria Annual International Conference and Exhibition in Lagos, says that the new regulatory frameworks developed under the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, that they are designed to offer clarity, attract capital, and promote accountability across exploration and production operations. Among the regulations highlighted by the NUPRC boss are the upstream petroleum measurement regulations, which promote transparency and accountability through technological deployment for accurate production tracking, and gas flaring, venting, and methane emissions regulations that are also aimed at reducing emissions and enforcing decarbonization. Other key regulations include host community development regulations, domestic gas delivery obligations, upstream petroleum safety regulations, and decommissioning and abandonment regulations. We're still in that space where the African Import-Export Bank, that's Afreximbank, they've announced the signing of a $1.35 billion financing facility in favor of Dangote Industries Limited. The facility is part of a larger, approximately $4 billion syndicated financing arrangement for Dangote Industries Limited, which is Africa's largest industrial conglomerate. Afreximbank acts as the mandated lead arranger for the syndication. This financing, one of the largest syndicated loans in recent African financial markets, will refinance capital expended on constructing the Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals Complex, the biggest single-train refinery in the world, with a capacity of 650,000 barrels a day. The financing alleviates initial operational expenditures and enhances DIL's balance sheet, supporting its continued growth trajectory. Afreximbank contributed $1.35 billion, that's the largest share among participating banks, and that underscores commitment to large-scale infrastructure that advances Africa's industrial energy security and intra-African trade. Since operations at the refinery complex began in February last year, Afreximbank has continued to support the Dangote refinery by providing key financing solutions for crude supply and product offtake, ensuring uninterrupted operations and reinforcing role in Africa's most significant refining intervention. I guess we can leave the oil and gas for just a bit now. Nova Bank has announced its intention of a strategic shift in its operating license from a national to a regional authorization. That's a move which, according to the bank, is aimed at optimizing operational efficiency and deepening its impact within market. The acting managing director and chief executive officer, Mrs. Chinwe Ilugalu, explains that following the central bank's revised recapitalization directive in March 2024, Nova reviewed its growth trajectory and capital utilization strategy. The management of the bank notes that the repositioning aligns with the bank's long-term vision to consolidate its strength, streamline its services, and deploy capital more effectively within targeted regions without compromising its commitment to innovation, customer satisfaction, and sustainable growth. To this effect, Nova has applied to the CBN to recategorize its operating license from a national to a regional commercial banking license. From the streets of Nigeria to the global chart, Afrobeats is the defining sound of a generation, and now MTN Nigeria is amplifying its volume within the official unveiling of its next Afrobeat star, a new music reality show with an aim to change lives, shape careers, and launch the next wave of African hitmakers.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
MTN Nigeria steps into the heart of youth culture with the launch of its new reality show, Next Afrobeats Star. Held at the MTN Rooftop Center in Ikoyi, Lagos, the event signals not only the unveiling, but the start of a musical movement.
The yellow light traveled.
Speaking at the launch, the Chief Marketing Officer of MTN Nigeria, Onyinye Ikenaemeka, emphasizes that the show goes beyond entertainment. It's a commitment to empowering young talents and amplifying Nigeria's voice on the global stage.
Next Afrobeat star would receive a $100,000 record deal, which is approximately 160 million naira in value. The top 4 finalists will also be rewarded with deals ranging from $25,000 to $75,000 to support the production of their debut projects, an open door to global stages, global audiences, and global impact.
Bringing this vision to life is a powerful alliance. Next Afrobeat Star is a collaboration between MTN Nigeria, Ultima Studios, and global music distributor 1RPM. With shows like Project Fame and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire under their belts, the partners bring years of experience to the table.
It's for Afrobeats is to expose our own culture, our own music to the world, and is to look for the next Afrobeat star. And it's using beat makers, that's the producers, to mentor the contestants to become the next Afrobeat star. So that's a unique thing, because you've never had the producers being part of any show.
In a rapidly growing music scene, standing out takes more than talent. Celebrated music producer Andre Vibes, who is behind hits like Rema's Calm Down and Ira Star's Rush, shares what makes an audition unforgettable.
I need to see a fire artist, man, an artist that comes with the energy, with the talent, stage presence, what else? Just authenticity, Once the artist has all of that, I think the sky's the limit for him or her.
The show promises more than exposure. MTN and its partners are putting real investment behind the artists.
On the show, they'll showcase their talent, show us what they're learning, and so on and so forth. At the end of which there will be a winner, a single winner.
There's going to be mentoring. We're going to present them with tools and, the ecosystem that will allow them to actually excel on the global stage.
Next, Afrobeat Star positions itself as a springboard for emerging talents, offering not just visibility, but genuine pathways into the music industry.
All right, well, we'll see what MTN has to offer with that Afrobeats show. Now, let's talk about Life is On campaign. But it's actually 25 years of Schneider Electric in Nigeria, and they believe they'll be making impacts, especially in the area of energy resources. For 25 years of existence in Nigeria, Schneider Electric would like for us to know that if we could have that slide to get a bit of information on Schneider Electric. So they've been here for 25 years, and they say their purpose is to empower all to make the most of energy and resources, bridging progress and sustainability for all. They want to be a trusted partner in sustainability and efficiency. They are deeply involved in automation and digitalization to smart industries company. They have an ecosystem of 150,000 colleagues and more than 1 million partners operating in over 100 countries, and they say they are guided by meaningful purpose of a sustainable future for all. Let's elaborate on this now. Right here in the studio, we have the country president of Schneider Electric, Mr. Jibola Akindele. Mr. Akindele, good morning.
Good morning.
I think I should start by saying congratulations, 25 years in Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
How's the experience been?
Well, we are extremely proud of what we have achieved over the last 25 years. Maybe I just give you a bit more background on who we are. Schneider Electric, we are headquartered in France, originally a French company. We have been around for about 200 years now, so in different forms, and in different places. We pride ourselves, we call ourselves a global company. It's a global company with a lot of local flavor. We have about 153,000 employees in 110 countries, so we are actually quite big.
So those numbers have been updated, because what I had here is 100 countries.
Just exactly. In Nigeria, we've been here for about 25 years. We started in the year 2000 with 1 employee. Incidentally, she's still with us today. In fact, 3 of our first 4 employees are still with us today. So it shows the kind of work environment we create, for our employees. So we started with 1 employee at an office at Eleganza Biro Plaza in Victoria Island. Then in 2006, when we had about 40, 50 employees, we moved to another office on the mainland, Tunde Gafar Street of Adini Jones. Just last year, we've just moved into a new head office, headquarters for West Africa, which would then serve the whole of West Africa. We have about 250 employees now.
In Nigeria? In
Nigeria. Serving critical industrial segments, including power and grid. The power sector is one of the big areas for us. Just on Friday, 4 days ago, we joined the Honorable Minister of Power, the Commissioner of Power in Energy in Lagos State, and the management of Ikeja Electric to commission a brand new 15 MVA injection substation in the Ikotun area. So that new substation will serve about 50,000 residents in Ikotun. So beyond the power space, we also help deliver safely hydrocarbons across the hydrocarbon value chain, whether it's upstream, midstream, or downstream, working with several players in the sector, whether it's gas, whether it's oil, or even in the refinery space, to ensure that hydrocarbons are delivered safely and in a controlled process. Beyond that, we're also quite big in buildings, right? Whether it's commercial buildings or residential buildings, we provide solutions across those spaces. If you look at the commercial side, your building management systems, that help ensure that there is energy efficiency within your buildings and that your buildings are safe from a security perspective. And the same thing on the home side, from home automation to safe products, switches, sockets, so everything, right? And I think one area where people might not even know we play is in the transportation system. So if you look at the Blue Rail, which is the first intercity rail line that we have in West Africa, it's all been electrified by Schneider. So all the electrical equipment, it's all Schneider. So over the last 25 years, we've been supporting critical sectors, including telecoms, manufacturing. Of course, manufacturing is quite big, supporting their processes, electrifying their processes, automating their processes, and bringing a lot of digital and software solutions as well. So yes, it's been an exciting 25 years, and we look forward to the next 25 years.
All right, I guess Nigerians are looking forward to that too. But I hear you talk about homes, manufacturers, the big projects. The rail is a very big project.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but I'm just curious how you play. I know you do electric.
Yeah.
But Nigerians look more to, when you talk about sustainability and renewables, they look more to the way of solar. Do we have you playing active there, especially for homes?
Absolutely. So again, the renewable space and sustainability is something that we really are pouring a lot of investment in right now. Maybe I should start by mentioning that we, for the past 2 years, we've been named the most sustainable company in the whole world, right? By Time Magazine, by Corporate Knights, by practically every institution that actually releases the metrics. So it's not something that we preach, it's something that we practice in our own operations as well. So we're very big in the area of renewable energy, from solar particularly, from your residential home solar solutions, even for much smaller things than that, mobile solar solutions, we call them the Mobia, because they're mobile, right? So you're talking of solutions from like 10 watts that can basically charge your phone or your laptop, to much bigger solutions like 100 kilowatt solutions that can be used in off-grid areas to power villages, for example, to solutions that are also grid-tied. So you're looking at the concept of interconnected mini-grids, where you can connect your mini-grid to the grid itself. So we have solutions for that can not just bring energy, but clean, reliable, and sustainable energy to the grid. And then you can connect it to the grid and use it depending on what time of the day you want to use it. And we're also serving both commercial and industrial customers as well. So it's not just the off-grid or the grid side. We're also having solutions for commercial and industrial customers who are looking at more cost-effective ways of powering their operations and not relying on generators. Because if you look at it, I mean, the cost of renewable energy, particularly solar, has been going down. Right, so it's becoming cheaper and cheaper. It's been more affordable, and I think people are beginning to buy into it. And quite frankly, there's a lot of funding coming into that space as well. So, yeah, it's an area we're really focused on.
Yeah, but we still have the issue of power reliability, power sustainability, supply in Nigeria. What can we expect?
So, as I said, just on Friday, right, we did a big launch, commissioning of a 15 megawatt injection substation in the Koto area. So that's some of the things that you can expect. As we all know, there's been a lot of underinvestment in the grid for a very long time. So there are all sorts of figures out there in terms of how much we need to invest in the grid. The grid is old, it's quite fragile, and in terms of load demand, it's really outpaced the amount of generation that we have. Generation is probably averaging about 5,000 megawatts, while what we need is definitely more than 10 times that. So what we do, or what we're doing with the various stakeholders, is first of all to reinforce the grid, right? Make it more reliable, make it more stable. The expansion and the increase in load that we're seeing, we're bringing in additional equipment to support the grid, and of course reduce the system collapses that we have. So that's we're partnering with all the stakeholders, whether it's private sector and the public sector, and even the multilateral agencies as well. So that's one area. The second one is what we've already discussed, is the area of microgrids. We're bringing in renewable energy, clean energy, sustainable energy, and also bringing it closer to the people. Because quite frankly, we can't just rely on the grid. The grid can't get to everybody at this point. So we then need to bring about different solutions that will bring power closer to the point of use. And then the third space is certainly in the area of digital, right? So it's one thing not to have enough. It's another thing for you to use what you're using efficiently so that you're not having a lot of losses, because right now, yes, we're generating little power, but quite a substantial amount of it is also lost either in transmission and in other kind of losses. So, it's really using digital to optimize, to create redundancies in the system, and to be able to adequately monitor. We're bringing in SCADA solutions, advanced database management systems, and other substation automation solutions that can help, improve the efficiency across the entire grid.
And I'm wondering how all of this will fit into the new law. I know, of course, you're aware of states have now been empowered. We see more states now gaining control, regulatory control of electricity. So how does this fit into that new law, the new normal now?
So it's again, again, we want to commend the government for enacting the law. It's something that, I think a lot of people view as positive. I think different states are doing different things, and we've heard a bit of news about Enugu State in particular recently. But in terms of how does that help? Again, it's, we're bringing these solutions to the various stakeholders. So we're not just looking at the likes of TCN or the distribution companies. it's really, we're also seeing a lot of energy traders coming in. So people that trade energy, buy it in bulk, sell it to C&I customers. So all of this space is beginning to open. And as they open, it creates more opportunities to bring power closer to the people. So I think, in the sector as a whole, we need to move very quickly because we are really far behind. I mean, access is probably about 50% today in terms of those that have access to to power. And if you look at it as to those that have access to clean, reliable, sustainable power, the number is even much lower. So a lot of work has to be done. We need to partner with all the various stakeholders, and I think we're not moving fast enough.
So what do you think could be done to accelerate that movement? So the law is more than a year old now, yeah. I believe. We have states just catching on. And even in catching on is mostly on paper, trying to domesticate it. We haven't really, apart from Abia State that's really going very fast, I've not really heard of a state that's picked up the law, domesticated it, and they've started operationalization of it. What do you think can be a push? Yeah,
I mean, these things take time,
legislation. Is it politics that's stopping it?
Well, legislation takes time, right? Generally speaking, I think, the process of enforcing these things, and, they don't happen overnight. First of all, you have to create a framework, to ensure it works and it works efficiently without a lot of controversy, So I think we're still going through that process. Of course, there's a lot of funding that is required in the power sector. So, you also have to create that enabling environment where investors can come in, and invest over a long period of time. Again, the power sector is not like some other industries where, you invest today and you can get your money back in 2 or 3 years. An average investment, you're talking of in excess of 10 years. So again, you have to create the regulatory framework where the investments can come in and then give them the comfort that over the next 10, 15 years, they can realize their money in return. So there's a lot of things that need to be done around regulation, around funding, and then having that right economic atmosphere, to create, the right environment for investors to come in. I think technology is probably not the biggest problem because the technology is there. The likes of Schneider Electric can easily deploy the technology, but there are a few other things that still need to be done and done very quickly.
Yeah, because I know Schneider is an investor. I mean, if we have a good law and then we have the ease of doing business and we have the right framework, the legal framework, Schneider will obviously bring that investment and power shouldn't be a problem. Unfortunately, that's been, I mean, I know World Bank says Nigeria uses about 200 billion or so annually because of power, and it's really killing small businesses.
Absolutely.
So I guess these are the things that the government should look at to attract big spenders like Schneider, to that space.
Yeah, so again, the government is looking at it. We're speaking with various agencies of government, for us, it's really working with our partners, and the right players to, deploy this solution. So again, it's something that we're hoping would happen sooner than later.
All right, and we're celebrating 25 years.
Yeah.
You talked about the next 25 years, but maybe we should take it in bits, maybe like 5 years, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
What can we expect to see from Schneider?
So for us, I think it's a couple of things. One of the first things is what you've already talked about. It's really about bringing people out of energy poverty, right? We talked about lack of access to power, lack of access to clean energy. One of our main focus areas will be bringing people out of energy poverty. In Schneider, we believe that access to energy is a fundamental human right. And so we want to democratize that right to ensure that people have access to energy, people have access to reliable, stable, and available energy, people have access to clean energy. So that's one of the areas we're going to be focusing on. Now, the second area is also in the area of just creating infrastructure, right? So if you look at buildings, for example, we have a housing deficit in Nigeria of about 28 million homes, right? And we're seeing more urbanization, and industrialization. So all of these people coming into the major cities are going to need power. They're going to need buildings. They're going to need homes. So in the area of buildings, the building segment is also one area that we're playing, creating the necessary infrastructure, electrical infrastructure, from the major electrical equipment like your switchgear, your RMUs, and your transformers to, your circuit breakers, so the homes, creating the right infrastructure so that these expansions can happen and happen safely. Because if you look at statistics show that 90% of fires are caused by faulty electrical equipment, and that's one of the things that we're also trying to speak to the regulators, to help standardize and ensure that only quality products come into the market. It doesn't have to be Schneider alone, but we just want to be sure that they are quality. So we think that, first of all, on the energy property side, second is buildings. Thirdly, of course, where it's going to be more digital, there's going to be more software. Software to help drive efficiency. Again, drive efficiency, optimize costs for industries, and also bring more transparency. So it's really about ensuring that the equipment are well managed, the equipment do not fail, we manage them over the life cycle of their equipment, and they can take better decisions to drive efficiency and reduce costs, ultimately to be more profitable. And lastly, we're quite big on sustainability. You've talked about that, I've talked about it. The country as a whole has its own climate change goals and objectives. We're also very keen to help Nigeria, achieve its climate goals by 2050. So we're going to be partnering with the country, with businesses over the long period of time. But for us, looking at the next 10, 25, 50 years, I would even take it further. Right. If you look at the demography of Nigeria, it's a country that would naturally want to play in. Right. First of all, it's the largest population in Africa. I believe it's the largest economy in Africa. Regardless of what the official data says, but certainly one of the largest economies in Africa. It's a young, tech-savvy population. Right. Needing a lot of infrastructure, whether it's power, whether it's water, whether it's buildings. So these are the areas where we naturally want to play, because we can provide all the necessary infrastructure. We can provide the data for the digital solutions that are required, and because we do a lot of work in the data center space as well, which hopefully I can get to talk about, in the building segment, in the manufacturing segment. So it's certainly a country that is a big priority for us. It's one of the 6 major hubs we have in Africa, and we're going to be here for a much longer time than 5 or 10 years.
And it's good because, I mean, you've mentioned the word sustainability quite a number of times. And another interesting one is the cost.
Yeah.
Because Nigerians are very conscious of the cost.
Absolutely.
So these are all infused in your vision and your plans, especially if you want to capture the majority of the population.
Absolutely. So, I mean, again, sustainability is big for us. We care about the environment, we care about climate change, but also in terms of cost. I mean, we realize, let's face it, a lot of industries are struggling. So you always cannot bring the most expensive products. So you have to bring the most innovative ideas. And we're speaking to various industries. How do you reduce wastage? Whether it's the area of energy, whether it's the area of decision making or transparency, how do you cut costs? How do you lower your costs so that you can be more profitable and more competitive? So we have various solutions for that from an operational perspective, whether it's the use of equipment, whether it's the use of software and technology to drive down costs, so that companies can be more competitive. Because it's a global scale. We also want Nigeria to be competitive, not just our products and solutions, Nigerian products and solutions now, to be competitive, not just locally, but for us to also start exporting to other parts of Africa and even the world.
And you also mentioned your play in the data space.
Yeah. So for that, it's actually, globally, that's actually our biggest business, the data center space.
Because the data is a new crude.
It's a new crude. So you think of a population of over 237 million people, which is the last figure I have, right? About 180 million mobile phone subscribers, and everybody texting data. A lot of industries now trying to understand using data to run their operations. So again, a lot of this data has to be managed, has to be stored, and we provide all of those solutions in terms of the cooling systems, the emergency power, some of the software solutions and cybersecurity solutions for data centers. So it's a very, very big area for us for the future. Maybe it's not the biggest area for today, but looking at the demography and how the world is going, certainly in Africa, it's also going to be very big.
Yeah, obviously, data is, because at the root of every decision,
it's now
policy,
data.
Investments.
It's now, you can do it without data.
Exactly.
And you need real-time data.
Real-time,
because if your
it keeps
data
changing.
Exactly. If your data is 3 months old, information may have changed.
Still.
So you need data today.
Yeah.
And that's what we can help you to provide.
All right, thank you so much for what you do in Nigeria, Schneider Electric, country president of Schneider Electric, Mr. Ajibola Akindele. Thank you for your time and congratulations once again.
Thank you so much.
All right, in a historic first, the APM West African Container Terminal, they've received the first indigenous container vessel on its maiden call to the Onne port in Rivers State. The vessel, named Ocean Dragon, made a call as part of the Clarion Shipping Company's move to ship goods directly from Lagos to One and Calabar, thus completely bypassing the roads and reducing the cost of operations.
It's a celebratory atmosphere at the quayside of the West Africa Container Terminal at the One port. And in attendance are stakeholders in the nation's maritime sector. They are here for the maiden call of the Ocean Dragon, a vessel owned and operated by Clarion Shipping. The managing director of the Nigerian Ports Authority commends the partnership between both companies.
Clarion Shipping, for the first time, has brought in this Ocean Dragon, which is going to move from One to Calabar. And we are looking forward to having more investors, bringing local investment into this industry so we can have more vessels like this operating domestically. Government, I'm sure, will be very, very interested in promoting this kind of activities because that is the way to go.
The top brass at WACT APM terminals explained the importance of the trade partnership.
Ocean Dragon is a 349 TEU capacity vessel that will cater to the WACT Calabar trade route in response to our customers' call to ease the burden of inland cargo movement to and from WACT. About 3 weeks ago, the NPMD re-emphasized the commitment towards deepening efficiencies required for maximizing the port sector in line with the national policy on marine and blue economy.
For us in APM terminals, and you mentioned the investments that we've done in this facility, this is a natural and very welcome development where we are seeking, together with other supply chain partners, in this case Clarion Shipping and the ECM terminal in Calabar, novel ways of serving in this case, the East Nigerian market. And we will continue to develop such solutions, and we have invested in this facility exactly to have that ability.
Speaking on the sidelines of the event, the Vice President of Clarion Shipping explains the importance of this development, saying it's a game changer for trade in the region.
I want to take you back to about 2020, 2019, 2021, when there was horrible congestion in Lagos, that before containers will leave from Apapa Port to outside of Apapa Port, they can stay like 1 month, 2 months. The importer is paying the damages. The truck owner is not any income from flying that route. And we came up with the solution, the movement of the containers out of Lagos to Cotonou in conjunction with Next Line. And before you know it, we evacuated all the containers and then the congestion ceased.
With this move, customers can now move their containers directly from Lagos to One and Calabar ports via sea, while bypassing the stress of road travels at a way cheaper rate. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
We're all for decongesting the roads and having it at a very lower cost. That, of course, is going to help the economy and economic movement and activities, and we hope to see it become a norm for us. Now, let's talk about commodities. It's Commodities Day today, and we have joining us Senior Manager at Financial Derivatives Company, Dumebi Oluwole. It would be good to have you in the studio, but Dume, we have to just manage and have you virtually. Good to have you on the program. You're welcome.
Thank you, Ini. Good to be here.
Great. So I think the first thing that I would like for you to touch on is the issue of, we see Brent declining in price in a couple of days now, especially since the new surge of tariff came on. But then we noticed that from, I believe, since yesterday, Monday, at least in Lagos, we've seen an increase in the price of petrol. What's going on?
Yeah, so I think it's a very important question because people are obviously concerned about why the price of petrol is rising again. So I would say two things. The issue right now is split two ways. The first one is that we are coming from a period where petrol prices have, crude oil prices have actually been rising. So almost all through the month of July, we did see we did see Brent crude, significantly increase. At least between the end of June and the end of July, we did see a 7.7% increase. Brent crude was trading at around $62 per barrel in June, and almost towards the end of July, it had inched up to about $72 per barrel. And one thing to always remember is that a lot of the refined petroleum products that we import into Nigeria are bought in, forward contracts, right? So most of the money spent to purchase, the refined petroleum products were spent at a higher cost, and so we are experiencing that right now. And there's also that lag from when the product is purchased and when it eventually gets to Nigeria and when it is eventually sold. And a very important thing to also mention here is the new price structure that we are currently faring in right now in Nigeria's downstream petroleum sector, and how that feeds into cost reflective pricing for independent oil marketers. The other
Maybe you should tell us a little
is
bit more about that new price structure and help us understand so we can know what to expect.
Yes. So the change in the market structure is pretty much what we have been experiencing with diesel prices, right? And it's the only difference now is that it's more mass because most people use petrol compared to diesel. And the change in the price structure, change in the market structure pretty much is that prices now will be more cost reflective. So what that means is that the subsidies have been removed, and so the true cost or by which marketers are incurring or operating or even getting their produce to sell into the domestic market, and that cost, which is inclusive of the naira's movement, currency movement, logistics cost, most of all of which are priced in the US dollar, right? All of that feeds into their costing, and then and that now feeds into the price of the product. Earlier on in the market structure we were living in before or operating in before, subsidies were the buffer for that actual cost that independent oil marketers were experiencing. And so we were getting lower prices, right? Or we're getting adjusted prices because someone else, which was the government or the NNPC, was paying for, right? So that they would give the independent oil marketers their full money, and then we would pay a subsidized rate. But right now that buffer is out, the true cost at which oil supply petroleum product suppliers get their produce is going to definitely be reflected in their price. But the other thing I wanted to mention regarding the current situation is that we are also experiencing high price volatility in the oil market. And when you put that side by side with the tariffs you had already mentioned earlier, and the fact that the US Fed is still very hawkish, what we have is a stronger dollar, right? And when you juxtapose that with how commodities, global commodity prices fare with a stronger dollar, right? You see that when you net it off, we are currently experiencing all marketers, their cost pretty much has not changed from when oil prices were higher. So even though in itself, right, nominally we're seeing that oil prices have dropped, but when you add that the dollar is stronger, when they convert their naira to US dollar, you see that they're pretty much still paying a higher cost, and that's one of the reasons why we're seeing prices increase. But again, in this market structure that we are experiencing right now, Dangote is a very strong player, and we have seen his prices still remain at what it was. And what that simply just tells us is that they're still obviously weighing their cost, and we might see a change in their price in the coming weeks or months.
Yeah, well, it's always good to prepare the minds of our viewers. I believe that's one of the reasons why we have viewership on this program. And still along that, we know that Russian oil now is under the threat of sanctions from the US, even though it doesn't look like India and China are ready to back down. So when we bring that into the picture and look at the decision by OPEC Plus over the weekend, to increase supply by, I think, 547,000, what can we see in the coming days, in the area of pricing of crude?
I think most of it would still be that prices could probably trade around what they're currently trading at. There are chances that prices could rise because of the, sanction on Russian oil. But like you had rightly mentioned, right, the fact that China and India, who are pretty much the dominant buyers for Russian oil, are still very much in the market for that particular commodity. We would likely still see the market react the same way they have been reacting, even when the tariff impositions kicked in on the 1st of August. The other thing to also consider is how supply would also, how OPEC supply would somewhat coincide with the increase in the tariffs on Russian oil, right? So an increase in supply means that prices would likely be bearish as well. But when you also juxtapose the both of them together, pretty much most likely would remain around what we're currently experiencing. But when you look at what that means for Nigeria, right? It's extremely important that we look at the oil production aspect for Nigeria, because conversations around oil production are very much more important than conversations around pricing, not because pricing is not important, but because we are an exporting country and also a net importer for refined petroleum products. And so we are seeing that upward trend in domestic oil production for Nigeria. At least for the June figures, we did see Nigeria meet its OPEC quota of 1.5 million barrels per day. If that uptick continues, right, what that means is that we will be getting in more forex, right? And if more forex comes in on the naira aspect, we would continually see the current stability of the naira persist. The issue now, of course, will be the domestic price for petrol, which would most likely retain the upward trend that we are currently seeing. We obviously would see conversations around Dangote's pricing in the coming days and weeks based off of the current developments, and what would most likely change might be the landing cost for petroleum for their own petrol product, and how that will definitely trickle down in the market. Another thing to obviously mention as well, it would be the price differentiation across different states in Nigeria, which currently exists. We most likely will see that continue. So I'll say that's pretty much how we can look at it for Nigeria. The global dynamics just still points to a lot of uncertainty. All price volatility would persist, but prices would likely remain at what they're currently trading at. And what that means for Nigeria is mixed, pretty much higher government revenue. But,
maybe I would have loved for us to go the way of the targets and the budget. The budget is supposed to be working on 2 million barrels. We don't have that. 75 dollars. We don't have that. But I mean, we're almost out of time now. So let's talk about commodities. What's happening to prices? Planting season over? Can we have a little bit of breather now?
Yes, I can actually tell you that. So one thing I'm very happy about, I think almost every time we talk about commodity prices, I always talk about plantain. So I'm very happy that the price of plantain would be coming down, more. So yes, what we are seeing the harvest season, effect begin to, creep into the market in a very favorable manner. Tomato prices, pepper prices, even the price of beef as well. So what we are seeing that, positively impact the market, and we expect that trend to continue at least for the most part of the third quarter of the year. There are concerns about higher petroleum products obviously feeding into logistics costs, especially for urban areas. The price of diesel also feeding into, state logistics costs and how that would impact the domestic market. But overall, we are seeing that the stable exchange rate environment and the harvest season really propping up, putting a green light pretty much on the commodity price movements right now.
All right, Dumebi, thank you so much for that. A good one. You are happy for the plantain. I'm happy for the pepper. I'm happy for the pepper, and I hope it will last for a bit. At least we'll store, and have as much as we can before the next planting season. Anyway, thank you so much, Dumebi, for your time, and wish you the rest for the rest of the day.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's find out. Dumebi's happy about plantain. I'm happy about the pepper. I don't know which one Ladi is happy about. Ladi, it's harvest season.
Yeah.
Prices are cheaper.
Right.
More affordable. So I think we should open our storehouses.
Okay.
Put all the yam, all the plantain, all the tomatoes, you know, blend them, put them in the freezer so that.
So you're trying to be a
month,
Joseph right now. How many lean years are we looking for?
I didn't know you were a Christian. Forgive me.
But I'm excited about plantain prices, Sha. That one is about,
okay,
I think it was 4 or 5. A yam, not bad. I think
but
yam
Daddy,
also.
But Daddy, you buy a bunch of plantain,
right.
5,000 naira now.
That's no, it dropped though. It dropped to about 4 or 5 or so.
I bought over the weekend 5,000.
5K? I should cheated you now. Next time, try.
I'll call you next time.
Let me get my price for you. Exactly. All right, let's get a check of what's happening in global space. Now, we see, still earnings season. We see Saudi Arabian company there, that's Saudi Aramco. They declared a 22.7 billion profit for the quarter ending June 30th, marking a significant 22% decline from the prior year and missing the $23.7 billion median forecast set by analysts there. The sharp drop was driven by sliding realized crude oil prices, which fell to an average of $66.70 per barrel from $85 a year earlier. If you can put up the results there, the Saudi Aramco results, that's for the second quarter of 2025. You can see the lineup there. See, total revenue, that's at, no, this is for Palantir. Give me for Saudi Aramco. Yeah, we can see Saudi Aramco. So that was about 15.2 billion. That's the contraction there for their price there, about 20% drop, if you can put that up. Dividend payout of about $200 million in the quarter. That's for Saudi Aramco. Then we also have Palantir Technologies now. The stock jumped over 4% in the after-hour trading yesterday with a blockbuster second quarter earnings there. Total revenue, that was about $1 billion there. It's the biggest one they've had for the quarter. 14% up quarter on quarter, 48% up if you're looking at it from a year-on-year basis. And U.S. revenue, that was at $733 million, 17% up quarter on quarter, 68% up year-on-year. If you're looking at that U.S. business now, U.S. commercial revenue, $306 million, big 93% jump year-on-year, 20% quarter on quarter. U.S. government revenue, that's money they made from selling some of their software to the government, $426 million, 53% up year on year and 14% quarter on quarter rise. So it's a stellar performance there for the Palantir company. And we did see the impact on the stock there with investors trying to buy up all those shares. Then to other stories now, we see Brazil. They're escalating their trade dispute with the United States as its top trade body has greenlit a request for a formal consultation at the World Trade Organization over the U.S. Tariffs. According to the Vice President, Geraldo Alckmin, the move, though announced by the government's trade chamber, awaits final approval from President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. The announcement did not specify which tariffs are being challenged, leaving the timing and details of the potential WTO action unclear. So watching out for that. Then we also see India's services sector that saw an unexpected surge in July. They're hitting an 11-month high for the month. The HSBC India Services Purchasing Managers Index, that rose to 60.5 points, surpassing June's 60.4 points and defying preliminary estimates of a decline. This robust performance, according to the survey, was fueled by strong international demand and sustained domestic sales. Definitely, PMI reading above 50. Definitely, that's an expansion there. Anything below that is a contraction, and they're moving in at the 60 points. So that's big expansion for that country. Now we see Hong Kong's monetary authorities. They've been forced to resume interventions to defend the local currency, buying about 6.4 billion Hong Kong dollars. That's worth about $819 million. That was today. This marks the third time in a week the Hong Kong Monetary Authority has intervened following a 2-week hiatus from the market. The renewed pressure on the Hong Kong dollar is attributed to a significant interest rate
gap with the U.S., which is encouraging traders to sell the local currency in favor of higher yielding greenbacks. So definitely, we know investors always react to some of these happenings in the market there. Then we see China's services sector that unexpectedly accelerated in July, providing a bright spot amid a broader economic uncertainty. According to new data from the S&P Global Private Purchasing Manager Index, the services PMI rose to 52.6 points, surpassing both June's reading and analyst forecasts. The stronger than expected growth was driven by robust domestic and foreign demand, a performance that starkly contrasted with the decline seen in the country's manufacturing sector for the same period. So we're seeing expansion there, also in China. Then South Korea's central bank, they may be poised for further rate cuts as the country's inflation continues to moderate. South Korea's year-on-year consumer price index cooled to 2.1% in July 2025, driven by a decrease in food and energy costs. This easing inflation, combined with a projected average rate of 1.9% for the year, that could provide the Bank of Korea with the flexibility to support economic growth. The report suggests that this environment, coupled with fiscal stimulus, could create a favorable outlook for both equities and the Korean won. Then in a sweeping new policy move, we can't have any of this without talking about the United States. We see the U.S. State Department is launching a 12-month visa bond pilot program targeting applicants for B1, B2 visas from countries with high overstay rates or weak vetting systems. Under the initiative, consultative officers may require travelers to post refundable bonds of $5,000, $10,000 or up to $15,000, with $10,000 generally expected for adult applicants as a condition for the visa issuance. Visas issued under the program will be valid for a single entry within 3 months, with U.S. entry limited to 30 days and the bond refunded only if the traveler complies with the visa terms and departs on time via designated ports of entry. So that's the update there for those trying to travel to the United States. So much terms coming from the U.S. at this point. If it's not tariffs, it's how you travel there. Exactly. So much. I know you love to visit the U.S.
I know, right? I don't know. Maybe I'll rethink it. Let's build Africa.
Right.
You know, like Canada said, we don't have favorable terms of tariff or trade deal with the United States. Right. So we're just going to look inwards and build Canada. So maybe this is the direction.
Right.
I mean, after you've thought of your flight tickets, your hotel, and all the expenses, then you get a $5,000 or $10,000 bond that you're going to.
Because tickets are not what they used to be. Before the prices for economy now, that used to be like business prices before.
Exactly.
Coupled with the weakness of the naira and all of that. So
this is redirection, I say.
Yeah.
Redirection to focus on Africa.
Focus on Africa.
All right, Ladi, thank you. And just before we go, I'll tell you how the market fared yesterday. The market still continues that very bullish and positive move, almost 2% up in one trading session. This is history being made in Nigeria this time. Honestly, we have to document this season and keep it somewhere so we don't lose sight of it. Yesterday, the market cap went up to 91.1 trillion naira after the all-share index gained about 2%, 1.99%. And it's all because of, we have Royal X, UPDC as top gainers, but the banking sector played a major role in that. FCMB, Fidelity Bank, they played in that. Consumer goods, I think it was Boer Foods that really led the way yesterday. Investors just woke up and saw the potentials in Boer Foods after their result, obviously, and they want to be a part of that. So I wonder what the next results will bring if this first half result is bringing in so many investors into the market. It's still good news for the NGX. It's a bull run. I don't know if it's too late for you to jump in, but it's a positive one for investors who are already there. And, at 1:30 p.m., it's 1:30 now, not 1 p.m., 1:30 p.m., Ladi will be here with Business Incorporated to give you intraday numbers and what investors are doing. Perhaps there'll be a lot of profit taking before then. That'll be at 1:30 with Ladi Williams. I'm Ini John Mekwa, wishing you the best of the rest of your day.